The Super Bowl is over. The season is over. We are officially in the off season. And you know what that means for us Dynasty players? It is all about rookies, rookie drafts, all that fun stuff. And today we're doing a 3-round Dynasty rookie draft. As always, if you like Dynasty content, make sure to like and subscribe. I believe at the time of recording, we're about 10 away from 1,100. So help us get to 1,100 subscribers. And also join our Discord. Link is in the description. We do live rookie mock drafts. So if you want to join a live rookie mock draft with us, we do it several times a week. Join the Discord. It's the easiest way to know when we go live, as well as hitting the bell and subscribing. And we also put together listener leagues. So be on the lookout for that if you want to join a listener league with us. But like I said, today we are doing a Dynasty Superflex 12-team rookie mock draft. No tight end premium here, just a normal PPR 12-team Superflex rookie mock draft. We do have landing spots. Link is in the link is in the description of the mock draft. And so we do have landing spots. So we're basing it off of this is the world we are living in. There were 32 players, I believe, taken in the mock draft. So I'm not taking anyone outside of those 32 players first. And then to finish off the third round, I will take, I think it's 4 players that weren't drafted. But we're only taking the players that were first taken in this mock draft. So without further ado, we're just going to get right into it here. And the 101, as you guys know, is Ashton Genty. It's been the 101 since whenever we started doing mock drafts. Hasn't changed. I don't think it's going to change. He goes to the Cowboys in this rookie mock draft. So, that's maybe the best landing spot we could ask for. But it's Ashton Genty, even in Superflex, one quarterback. Unless your league severely limits in running back production, Genty is the number one across all platforms. Next up, I'm taking another running back here. I'm taking my RB2 in this draft class, Omarion Hampton. And one of the reasons I'm taking him here is because of the landing spot. He goes 61st overall to the Commanders. And I think if people see that landing spot, they are going to love it with Jaden Daniels and how he helps probably the efficiency of running backs. That offense should be really good. I think he's significantly better than a Brian Robinson. Eckler, who I believe is still under contract, probably has one more year, but then it could be full on Omarion Hampton on a really good offense with a rushing quarterback, and a rushing quarterback that probably is not going to steal a lot of touchdowns. That is an ideal landing spot. Gets second-round draft capital. I think if that happens, Omarion Hampton could go at the 102. If you've been watching these videos, these mock draft videos, or joining us live, you know that in my personal opinion, from the 102 to the 107, 108, there's so many ways in which you could go, especially in a tight end premium. Now, this isn't a tight end premium, but especially in a tight end premium, there's so many different ways you can go at the 102 to maybe 106 or 7. So, in my opinion, we should be trading back potentially if you can get a haul. Trading back from the 102 to the 106 and getting a haul is probably the way to go. At the 103, I'm going to go ahead and take Ted McMillan here. I am back and forth. I think I'm slightly leaning towards Luther Burden as my wide receiver 1 in the class. They're definitely in the same tier, in my opinion. So I go back and forth here. This one, I'm going to lean Ted McMillan. He goes 8th overall to the Panthers. Obviously, he could be the number 1 wide receiver on a team full of kind of number 2s, in my opinion. I think he provides really good red zone production, a red zone threat for Bryce Young because of his size. And he's just an overall, he's a big possession receiver. So he's not this outside X contested catch guy. He could play in the slot. He was very good in the slot in college. He didn't play there a lot, but when he did, he was really good. And he's more of a big possession guy, which is actually probably better for fantasy football production. So I'll go ahead and take Ted McMillan here at the 103. And then I'm going to go my first quarterback. And again, could you make an argument that one of the quarterbacks goes at the 102 in a Superflex league? Absolutely. And I think early consensus is these quarterbacks I see going late first. I've even seen in some mock drafts, these quarterbacks, even though they get top 5 draft capital, going in the second round, which I think is just crazy. I think as we get closer to the NFL draft, and if these guys do get drafted in the top 5, the hype for them is going to go up. Everyone always needs quarterbacks, even if they're QB2s. Everyone needs quarterbacks, and the cheapest place to get a quarterback is the rookie draft. 1 first-round pick for a top 15, top 17 quarterback. Usually you have to pay more than that. By the way, Cam Ward goes to the Titans. He goes to the Titans at the 101. So do the Titans take a quarterback? I don't know. I know they talked about, we don't pass on generational talent. I generally don't believe what GMs and presidents of operations say in January or February. Things just change way too much. So we'll see once the draft comes where they actually go. At the 105 here, I will take Luther Burden out of Missouri. Again, he's in the tier 1. Him and Ted McMillan, to me, are in the same tier. And if Luther Burden gets really good draft capital to a really good team, I'm fine with taking Burden over Ted McMillan. Burden here goes to the Broncos, which I actually think is a really good spot for him. You get paired with hopefully a good rookie, Bo Nix, who had a good rookie season. Hopefully he builds on that. Cortland Sutton's still going to be there, but I think Burden and Sutton kind of complement each other very well. Anyone that tells you that Luther Burden is a slot receiver, in my opinion, I think they're wrong. Now, I could be wrong, of course, but I think they're wrong. I think Luther Burden, although he played from the slot a majority of his snaps, a huge percentage of his snaps at Missouri the last 2 years, the way he wins, he doesn't win only on slot type of routes. He wins on the outside, making contested catches, going up and getting the ball. So it kind of reminds me a little bit of Justin Jefferson, who played mostly in the slot at LSU. You had Jamar Chase, I believe it was Terrace Marshall, playing on the outside, and Justin Jefferson in the slot. And we obviously know that didn't matter. Jefferson can play wherever. So I think it was more of a product of just the offense. And the way Luther Burden wins, though, is not as a typical slot receiver here. At the 106, I will go Caleb Johnson, who is in this tier of guys, in my opinion. Now, I'm very curious. There's 3 running backs that I'm going to take in a row here. I'm actually going to boom, 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 take them 106, 107, 108. It's Caleb Williams. I made the wrong pick. It is Caleb Johnson. I think I said Caleb Williams. Travion Henderson, and then Quinshon Judkins. These 3 guys, to me, as of right now, are in a tier together. And what's probably going to separate these guys, in my opinion, is where they go in the draft, right? And who they get drafted to. Now, in this mock draft, the world we are living in, we had Judkins go 55th overall to the Chargers. We had Caleb Johnson go 64th overall to the Chiefs. So the last pick of the second round, which Chiefs, obviously this was made before they lost the Super Bowl. And then you had Travion Henderson going 67th overall to the Browns. 3 really good landing spots, all kind of separated by less than 20 picks or right around 20 picks. How would you take these 3 guys if that's how it went? Again, Quinshon Judkins to the Chargers in the late second. Travion Henderson to the Chiefs, and Caleb Johnson to the Chiefs, and Travion Henderson to the Browns. I think how I would do it, if they all kind of get those really good landing spots, I'm just going to put them in the order of who I have slightly higher. I have Caleb slightly over Travion slightly over Judkins. So that's how I have it. That's how I probably would take it. But man, all really good spots. I think people would love the Chiefs getting a running back. I think I do think the Chiefs are going to focus on offensive line and another weapon. Outside of Xavier Worthy in that Super Bowl, they didn't really have anyone. You had an old DeAndre Hopkins. You kind of had an older Juju Smith-Schuster. You had an older Travis Kelce. You didn't really have that huge explosive difference maker at the running back position. Now, is that because of Pacheco's injury? Potentially, but I think they add a weapon, whether it's a receiver or tight end, either through free agency or running back, either through free agency or in the first couple of rounds of the draft. And I think Caleb Johnson comes in there, and eventually he just takes over that backfield from Pacheco. I just think he's a better player, in my opinion. And then Travion to the Browns is a great spot. Quinshon Judkins to the Chargers is, people are going to love that as well. But I'll put them in order of who I have ranked just slightly higher. At the 109, really good value here, Shedeur Sanders. And this is what I'm talking about with like trading back. Like, would I rather Omarion Hampton or would I rather Travion Henderson to the Browns and a 2026 first, or Shedeur Sanders and a 2026 first? Give me the player and the pick, because any of these guys could be really, all these guys could be really good. And, Henderson could be better than Hampton, but there's 6, 7 picks potentially separating them. So this is what I mean by potentially trading back and just getting a lot of value here. By the way, Shedeur Sanders goes to the Giants, 3rd overall. In my opinion, I've been saying this, of those teams in the top 5, top 6, top 7 that need quarterbacks, I think the Giants are the best spot. You have a stud elite receiver in Malik Neighbors. You have a good running back in Tyrone Tracy. You hopefully have a good tight end in Theo Johnson. You have another wide receiver 2/3 in Wandale. I still think Daboll is a good coach. So I think the Giants is the best landing spot for one of these quarterbacks. And I hope it's Cam Ward that goes to him. At the 110, a player that I am rising on, I'm really, really starting to like, it's Matthew Golden. Matthew Golden at the 110 here. And one of the reasons why I like him, not as just, his analytics and all that stuff, his numbers, but he also, in this mock draft, he goes to the Commanders, 29th overall. And again, like, people are going to love that pick. He goes in, he doesn't have to be the number one guy, so you don't have that pressure. He gets paired with an elite young rookie quarterback, second-year quarterback now, in Jaden Daniels. McLaurin, I think they're going to sign him to an extension or something, but he is coming to his last year of his contract. He is getting a little bit older. Like, Golden could be productive from year 1 and then take over as the number 1 guy for Jaden Daniels in year 2, in my opinion. And so I really like Golden. I hope he gets first-round draft capital. I think it's very telling that a lot of people thought he was going to go back to school. He decided to enter the NFL draft. And with NIL money these days, and that college players get paid, for you to forego your senior year, on a good team that could potentially compete for the championship, to go to the NFL draft, that means your people are telling you you're going to be a very high draft pick and take advantage of it now. Like, by high draft pick, I mean potentially a first-round pick. So I'm a big Matthew Golden guy. I have him here at the 110. Emeka Egbuka, again, man, just really good value. I'm really starting to like this draft class. I maybe I'm falling into the trap because I'm just consistently talking about these guys, but Emeka Egbuka, I mean, to get him at the 111 is kind of crazy value here. And that's going to happen potentially if you get these running backs, these 3-4 running backs, Hampton, Johnson, Henderson, and Judkins, getting really good draft capital and landing spots. You're going to have guys fall, whether it's one of the running backs or one of these players, and Sanders, Golden, Egbuka. Egbuka in this draft, he does go to the Steelers. So, there's a lot of question marks about who their quarterback is. It seems like it's not going to be Russell Wilson. Is it Justin Fields? Maybe. Do they draft someone in the 2nd, 3rd round? Maybe. I actually think they do take someone in this draft, in this mock draft. Maybe not, actually. But, there's a lot of questions there potentially with the quarterback and George Pickens. I think Egbuka and Pickens kind of complement each other very well. They need weapons. I think it's crazy to think that the Steelers are not targeting a wide receiver with their pick in the 1st round. And it's Egbuka. I think Egbuka is probably like a wide receiver 2 in his fantasy career. Maybe like what Jordan Addison's been this year to start his career. Maybe like what Jameson Williams was this year. Not the same. They don't win the same way, but in terms of just the fantasy production, I think Egbuka can be a consistently good, like, wide receiver 17 to wide receiver 22, consistently in his fantasy career. So Egbuka, who, again, like, I'm rising on Egbuka as well. At the 112, and you guys know I like to do these mock drafts, not just like this is what I would do, but maybe like this is what I think could happen if the draft plays out this way. I'm actually going Jackson Dart at the 112. And I think this could happen because Jackson Dart's getting a lot of hype. And B, in this mock draft, he gets picked as the first pick of the 2nd round to the Browns. And someone's going to see that in a superflex league and say, holy crap, like I could get a starting quarterback and maybe it works out, a Jackson Dart. And again, the hype he's getting, he gets a landing spot where you could see him starting from day one if he has a good training camp and all of that stuff. And so, I think Jackson Dart could be a first round pick if he gets, early second round draft capital to a really good team. At the 201, I know a lot of people are thinking, why aren't these tight ends going? I'm taking Tyler Warren. And the reason why the tight end falls for me is because it's not a tight end premium. Do I think Tyler Warren's going to last to the 201? No. But I do want to just take this moment to highlight, like, if it's not a tight end premium league and it needs to be a 1 point or higher, 1.25 tight end premium. So, tight ends are getting 2 or 2.25 points per reception. If it's not a tight end premium league, tight ends outside of the top 3-ish, whoever that is, each and every year, don't really matter, guys. They really don't matter. They don't make that much of a difference. They really don't. And so it's just such a small window. Now, could it be Brock Bowers? Brock Bowers is one of those top 3 guys, he was last year. Could you be drafting the next Brock Bowers? Sure. But the margin for error there, like, you can draft a wide receiver, he could be wide receiver 20, and he could still be good. You draft a tight end, and he's tight end 7, it's not really making that much of a difference in helping you win championships. So that's why the tight ends fall a little bit to me. Tyler Warren, by the way, goes to the Colts, which I think he's just a really good player. And I don't really care too much where he goes, kind of like with Brock Bowers. Like, he went to a terrible situation, but he became tight end 1 last year, So I think Tyler Warren, like, he's kind of that almost like a quarterback system proof, although really testing that going and pairing with Anthony Richardson. At the 202, I'm taking a running back that I seemingly higher on than most people. I have him arguably in the same tier as guys like Caleb, Henderson, and Judkins, and that's Dylan Sampson. Now, why does he fall to the 202? Well, one is because I know a lot of other people aren't quite as high on Dylan Sampson, so I don't really see Dylan Sampson being a first-round pick where we stand right now. But Sampson goes 68th overall to the Raiders, so early third round. He's, to me, the best running back on that team already. You got a new head coach in there. You got Pete Carroll, who loves to run the ball. The only issue with Sampson that I see from people, or like the top issue I see, is his size. You look up, I'm going to do it right now, Dylan Sampson prospect weaknesses, right? You Google that, Dylan Sampson, and then the AI generates it and it says size. The first thing it says, size, right? Another website here, size. The lack of size prevents him from being a workhorse. If the only negative of a player is their size, not the only negative, but if the main big negative on them is their size, I'm going to forego it and I'm going to ignore that. And I'm going to say what I see, production and analytics, and the film. I see a stud, I'm going to go ahead and take them. I thought that with Bucky Irving. I thought that with Tank Dell, right? And, it kind of worked out for those guys. I know Tank Dell had the injuries, which sucks, but so I don't just discount people because of size. Now, pass protection, is that an issue? Potentially with him, and that is an issue that can translate. But, man, the dude is fast. He's productive. He is a little bit smaller, but, man, he's just good. He's a good player that was on a good offense. At the 203, I will take Colston Loveland here, who probably gets a better landing spot going to the Chargers, matching up with Harbaugh, his old college coach, gets to play with Herbert. So could you argue Loveland over Warren? Yes. My big thing about Warren over Loveland is that Warren's going to get on the field in all situations. He's going to be out there run blocking. He's going to be out there just doing everything, right? And that's going to give him a snap share of 80, 90, 95%. Whereas Loveland, he might be more of a Kincaid type of snap share where he's out there 65, 70% of the time. And I know we don't care about run blocking. It doesn't translate to fantasy points, but it kind of does because it gets you on the field more and gives you more opportunity, play action, and all that stuff. At the 204, I am going to take Jalen Milroe here. We actually had 3 quarterbacks go back to back to back Three straight quarterbacks go in the early second round in this mock. Milroe is one of them, 40th overall to the Saints. Milroe has the cheat code. He can run the ball. So I'm going to take a shot on him in this range. I'm just going to take a shot on him in this range because even if I get 1 to 2 years of a top 7 quarterback because he runs, that's going to be more valuable than most people taking in the second and third round of a rookie draft. As much as we like to convince ourselves that all these players are amazing and we love them, you actually go back and look in a couple years, there's not many hits that come from mid to late second, third, and fourth round. So Milroe is going to get a shot. If he gets drafted in the second round, he's going to get a year or something of production. And I think because of his ability to run, he's going to be a valuable asset during that time. Again, goes to the Saints, 40th overall. This is where I'm going to bite the bullet and I'm going to take Travis Hunter. Obviously, if Travis Hunter declares as a receiver, then he would be potentially the second overall pick in the rookie draft. I think there's a very good chance we don't know what Travis Hunter is going to play as when we're doing our rookie draft. And for that reason, this is kind of the middle ground where if he's a defensive guy, he's useless for fantasy. If he's an offensive guy, he's the 102. If we don't know, let's go right in the middle, early to mid second round. I'll take the gamble. If he hits, then I just got an incredible bargain. If he doesn't, well, sucks, but a lot of these guys aren't going to hit. He's worth the risk, essentially. I did hear something about Daniel Jeremiah, I think it was, saying that most people were saying he's going to either choose one side or he's going to play as a cornerback full-time, and then kind of moonlighting on defense, right, or on offense, right, playing in the red zone and things like that, like 15 snaps or so, because he's a really good red zone threat. But I think it was Daniel Jeremiah say he's actually going to play as a full-time receiver, moonlighting on defense. Like maybe he comes in on nickel packages and third down and stuff like that, which I think is very interesting. But I don't know if we're going to know by then. I'm going to take another quarterback here. It's Will Howard, who's also getting a little bit of hype here. Led the FBS Division I football in passing yards, which doesn't mean much necessarily, but from Syracuse, Will Howard, he gets taken. He's one of those 3 quarterbacks taken in the early second round, going to the Raiders. Again, what do you know at the very least about these guys that you don't know about other positions? Like, for example, if Trey Harris, who I haven't picked yet, he goes 47th overall to the Cardinals. If he's just not good, he's just not going to be on the field. You know for a fact Will Howard, Jalen Milroe, Jackson Dart are going to get at least a year or 2. Look at Will Levis. He's the perfect example. They're going to get at least a year or 2 to prove what they got. And that's too valuable to pass up on a superflex league. If you hit on a starting quarterback, even if it's QB 18 in points per game in the second round, that does so much for your dynasty team, superflex team. It gives you so much flexibility, assuming you have other quarterbacks and all of that. So I'll take Will Howard here at the 206. At the 207, I am going with a wide receiver that I love, super productive, got injured last year. It is Jalen Royals out of Utah State. Jalen Royals in this draft goes 73rd overall to the Raiders. So I like that spot for him again. He can kind of be the number 2, number 3 option behind Jacoby Myers and Brock Bowers year 1. And then, learn the position, not have that pressure. And then maybe by year 2, he's the number 2 option on that team behind Bowers. Royals is a lot of fun. He is a lot of fun, super productive player, was on pace for like 1,500 yards receiving before he got hurt. I think he has like 800 in 7 games or something like that, 700 and something in 7 games. So super fun, super productive player there. At the 20th overall pick, I'm going with Alec Iomanner from Stanford, who a lot of people love, man. There's a big following with him, especially because he torched Colorado and Travis Hunter in 2023. Alec here, if I remember correctly, actually, he goes to the Texans, 58th overall. Not a terrible spot. He could be, with the Tank Dell injury, he could be the number 2 option there. I would be interested to see how him and Nico Collins play. It feels like they have similar skill sets. But I will say this about Alec. Like to me, he has a higher ceiling than some other players, like a Restrepo, for example, like an Isaiah Bond, um, because they have all the tools. They have all the tools that you need to kind of be that number one guy. So I'm going to go with Ellick here, going to the Texans with the 208. Is it? Next, I will go Harold Fannin Jr. Again, this is a non-tight end premium. If it's tight end premium, he goes higher because he goes to the Bengals, 49th overall. So he's a top 50 pick in the draft. He goes to the Bengals. If you didn't know, like most of the Bengals tight ends are free agents. Most of them are free agents. I think 3 of their guys on their current roster are free agents, including Mike Gesicki and Tanner Hudson, who were kind of their 2 leaders at the receiving, leaders in terms of receiving yards for tight ends the last 2 years. And then they had Cam Grandy, and then they just announced Eric All is going to miss the entire season. So that's literally 4 tight ends gone, potentially, unless they re-sign Gesicki. So that leaves like the door wide open for Fannin, who could become, that kind of third option for them if they keep T. Higgins, of course. But again, non-tight end premium. Tight ends are not as exciting. Next player here I put is R.J. Harvey. And I'll be honest, I'm a big R.J. Harvey fan. If he gets third round, day 2 draft capital and goes to the Vikings, I actually might think he deserves to be a little bit higher. Like you can make an argument for him going closer to the mid-second because one, I think RJ Harvey is underrated. And this is the first 3-round mock draft that I've seen where RJ Harvey is actually drafted in the 3rd round. Usually I don't even have him drafted. And so to see him potentially getting day 2 draft capital, going to the Vikings, who by the way, Aaron Jones is a free agent, that's an amazing landing spot. I could argue him going higher again, and I might take him higher because I'm a big fan of him. Xavier Restrepo is my 211 pick here. Restrepo is an interesting one because I think he's going to be a very solid, productive receiver in the NFL. To me, he profiles as a wide receiver 2/3, probably a slot guy. He goes to the Giants, playing with Malik Neighbors, Wan'Dale Robinson. Interesting to see how he fits in there, but could I see him being the number 2 option? Next to Malik Neighbors, sure. I just think he's kind of limited in his ceiling. And that's where, like, if I had to choose Io Manor versus Restrepo right now, I'd probably lean Io Manor just because I think he has the tools to put it all together and be a top guy. Whereas I'm not sure if Restrepo has all of that. But if I had to bank on someone just being like a 10-year career and just being super consistent and valuable to a team, it's probably Restrepo. And then to finish off the 2nd round here, I'm going with one of my sleepers. I put out a video, maybe not a sleeper, but I put out a video of guys that I'm higher on than most. Savion Williams. And he goes to Jacksonville. And I keep saying this about Savion, like if a team decides to use him like Cordero Patterson over the last few years, he's going to be awesome. I might take him higher. The risk is, I don't know. You got to get to the right team that's going to use him that way. If they try to line him up outside and say go and win, he's going to be terrible because he's not a great route runner. But you can give him the ball on bubble screens. You can line him up at the quarterback in the backfield, and give him routes out of the backfield. Let him run a wildcat type of thing. Take those easy slants to the house. Like the dude is incredible with the ball in his hands. Please, Jacksonville, if you draft him, use this guy as just a weapon and not just a receiver, please. But you got to hedge your bets a little bit. That's why he goes late 2nd round. 25th at the 301, I'm taking Tez Johnson. He's another guy where I'm not super worried about his size because everything else I see about Tez Johnson is it's just really good, right? Like his analytics, his production, his speed and all of that. Now, the size is extreme, under 160 pounds, I think he weighed in as. That's pretty extreme. You don't see that very often. So Tez Johnson, though, goes late 3rd round to the Dolphins. Now, if the Dolphins don't have Tyreek Hill, then he probably goes higher. Even if he does, though, I think the Dolphins are like the perfect team for Tez Johnson because they're going to get him open and they're going to use him and his ability to, okay, you have problems with press coverage. well, then we'll move you around so you never have to really worry about that. And then he just kind of fits the Dolphins perfectly, who still are kind of looking for. I know Jonnu was their guy last year, but potentially looking for that third consistent option for them, or maybe a guy in the future to replace Tyreek Hill. Obviously, he's not going to be as good as Tyreek Hill, but he just fits the Dolphins perfectly, in my opinion. I got Jaden Higgins up next. Again, guys, only taking the players that were drafted in the mock draft. I'm starting off with those 32 players, and then the last 4 picks will be some players that weren't drafted. But Jaden Higgins, I will take here. And where did Jaden Higgins go? Jaden Higgins went to the Jets, 92nd overall. Don't love it, but I think he's a solid player. Take a shot on it. Trey Harris at the 303. Goes to the Cardinals, 47th overall. And now he does get top 50 draft capital. There are people who love Trey Harris and say this guy's a first-round pick in Dynasty rookie drafts. There are people who are on the opposite side. Personally, I'm closer to him not being a first-round pick than I am him being a first-round pick. I think he's kind of a project. I know his yards per route run were insane at Ole Miss, but I think that's more a little bit of product of the offense than anything. Going to the Cardinals as well, who, by the way, couldn't even make Marvin Harrison Jr. relevant year one, like for fantasy. You have Trey McBride. Like Trey Harris, to me, at best, is the third option on that team. Whereas like a guy like Tej Johnson, and by the way, he's going to be the third option on that team for the next couple of years at least, behind Marvin Harrison and Trey McBride. Whereas for like Tej Johnson, for example, you could see him being the number 2 option potentially in 2026, right? Even a guy like Jaden Higgins, it's like, okay, he could be the number 2 option for the Jets. It's just, what's that mean? What does that mean? Trey Harris is like the third at best. The third. He has to beat out Michael Wilson, by the way. He's the third option on that team, and he is so for the next 2-3 years. At the 304, I'm going with LaQuint Allen here. I haven't scouted him too much. Actually, I don't know if he's actually on here, so I'm gonna go ahead and pass up on him. But he does get drafted. You know what? I'll just take a random player here and Baylor Cup. But that's supposed to be LaQuint Allen. So if anyone who skips ahead and be like, who the hell is Baylor Cup? Well, that means they didn't watch. But LaQuint Allen here, he goes to the Texans. I haven't scouted him yet, so I can't really find good film on him from 2024 besides like highlights and stuff, which I generally don't like to watch. I'll watch them, but I don't base my scouting off of them. So I don't have a whole lot to say. He could easily move up if I, turns out that I really like him and would like what I see. But he goes to the Texans, which, year one, we don't think he's going to do much behind Mixon. And then we'll kind of see in 2026 and beyond. I'm going to go ahead and take Quinn Ewers here. Sorry, I was just looking for him. Quinn Ewers here at the 305. He goes to the Rams, 3rd round. Generally, quarterbacks taken in the in the 3rd round are just not going to hit. That's just the reality of it. You'll get one every now and then, but generally they're just not going to hit. And I'm probably going to be out on most of them unless 2 things. They run the ball, like a Jalen Milroe if he falls to the 3rd round, or they go to a team that knows how to develop quarterbacks, knows how to coach quarterbacks. The Rams are one of those teams. I'll take a shot on Quinn Ewers here, early to mid 3rd round. Next up, we got Gunnar Helm, who tight end out of Texas, who I believe also went to the Rams. He did, 100th overall to the Rams. I think he could be a pretty solid – he could pretty easily, in my opinion, put up the production of a Tyler Higbee, maybe in year 2. So I'll take a shot on Gunnar Helm. Isaiah Bond, I understand Isaiah Bond is super, super fast. And I think like athletically and talent-wise, if he ever put it all together, he could be awesome. But I'm just concerned about the lack of production. He goes to the Cowboys. I think he just becomes kind of like a field stretcher. The speed is obviously important to a team, but for fantasy, it doesn't do much for us. And then I will take Mason Taylor, who is the last pick, I believe, in this mock draft that wasn't taken. So Mason Taylor, Goes to the Seahawks, 82nd overall. I actually like that landing spot. I'm kind of like back and forth between like Gunnar Helm, Mason Taylor, who's my next tier of guys here. So those are the 32 players that were taken in this mock draft. Some other players that I would actually take potentially over these other guys. Jack Besh, I'd probably take in the second round if he got top 50 draft capital or, day 2 draft capital. A lot of people think he's going to be a top 50 pick. And if that's the case, he belongs closer to the mid-second round. But he didn't get drafted in this mock draft, so that's why he goes here at the 309. Cam Scattaboo, another guy that I'm pretty high on. Either you hate him or you love him, but I'm a Cam Scattaboo fan. Again, like if he gets day 2 draft capital, I could take him in the second round pretty easily. He does 3 things really well. That's just going to translate to the NFL, and teams are going to love. He gets you the hard-earned yards between the tackles. He can break tackles. He pass protects, and he pass catches well. Those 3 things translate to the NFL. Despite him not being explosive or whatever, you do those 3 things well, a team's going to fall in love with you, and they're going to put you on the field. We've seen Jamal Williams score 17 touchdowns and rush for 1,000 yards. So, is he the most talented guy? No, but he does the little things right, and teams love that with their running backs. And then 2 more running backs I'll kind of shout out here. Devin Neal from Kansas, just super productive, fun player here. And then DJ Giddens from Kansas State, I will shout out here as well. There's some other guys that I could, throw out there, an Ollie Gordon, Elijah Arroyo, who I think is maybe the tight end 3 in this draft class, but just kind of wanted to shout out those guys here. So that is it, guys. Again, like and subscribe if you enjoy Dynasty content. And if you want to get into some of our live mock drafts, join our Discord, hit the bell, and we'll definitely get you in there. We're going to be doing them all the way through June probably, and some startup stuff and all that. So appreciate everyone. Catch you guys all in the next video.